Hey everybody, welcome back to the Vince Salerno podcast. This is episode 101. As always, I'm your host, Vince Salerno, and today is part 2 of my conversation with JJ Schindler. JJ is a film producer, actor. Him and his family started the Anna Schindler Foundation. He's also my best friend. This part of our conversation, we talk primarily about the film industry, where it's at, and that it's not in a good place, and what we think needs to change in order for the film industry to get out of this contentious, really scary situation that it's in right now. As JJ describes it, it's the Wild West. And we get into why it's called the Wild West and, again, what needs to change. I should probably point out that we shot this interview before Superman came out. We talk about Superman and superhero movies in the box office. I think I talk about Thunderbolts a lot because I had just seen, or had seen recently, Thunderbolts in the theater. So if you're hearing us talk about Superman or other movies in like stuff, as in like something to come, it's because we shot this interview before that movie came out. I know I've been away for a while, but that tends to happen when you introduce a new member of your family in the form of a baby. So wife and I have been busy with that, but it's been fantastic. So I'm happy to be father to 2 boys now. Enjoy this episode, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out. So you're in the industry right now, technically. Like you've been trying to get independent projects produced and things off the ground. Um, there's a lot of like existential dread going on in Hollywood as well. Do you get a sense of that in the projects that you've worked on, the things that you've had to pitch?
Industry is just kind of all over the place right now. It's kind of the Wild West, and from my viewpoint, and it's hard to know what one day to the next. I think the hardest part right now, and this was already happening when we first started in this industry, and we were being taught about where the industry was at. Um, I think it's only gotten exponentially more crazy because things can move and drastically change so quickly. There was periods of time where, because of technology or what have you, it moves slower. Changes move slower. You could adapt a little bit easier. Now, since the internet, especially, but with streaming services taking full swing, I mean, that's been in for a long time. That was the big first adjustment. But now, just the fighting for position and the stories that are successful and how you can make money in this industry, if you're not a studio or if you're working as an independent and getting the funding, it's a lot of it right now is just the stability of the studios is to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen so many changes and so many back and forths, and I'm sure anybody watching this that is in the industry knows what I'm talking about. It's not just one thing, it's that you can point to. I think there's several factors: political, ideological, just practicalness of technology, and the business wise, like what's selling and what's not selling, and what people wanting to put butts in the seats to go watch a movie versus streaming, and how do you make money off of that, and ad spend, with advertisers, and now we're paying $3 extra for this subscription and this whatever for no ads. I mean, everything is still like, it hasn't hit its plateau. I mean, it's just kind of expanding. We don't know if it's going to blow up or if it's going to, like, we're going to figure it out. So
Yeah,
it's just kind
yeah.
of trying to navigate that while trying to sell projects and make money while doing it. And yeah, it's the Wild West, in my opinion, right now. And that's maybe from somebody that's earlier on in their career or not established with a name that can sell things easier. But seems to be from mentors and people I work with that are working with these studios that that's their viewpoint as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can only imagine how hard it is to get something off the ground right now. Because it seems like, I mean, I've covered this extensively on this podcast, and even last week we did an episode on whether or not superhero fatigue is really starting to sit in or not. And at least for me, I'm at a point, because like superhero films specifically have been kind of the bread and butter of Hollywood. Like that has been the most bankable thing that Hollywood has just been all in on since 2008 with the first Iron Man movie. And I'm
Yeah.
curious now if they can salvage the genre to the point where it can still be the cream of the crop, or if something else is going to take its place, like video game movies, like the Minecraft movies doing gangbusters right now. But I did see a Thunderbolts 2 days ago, and I really liked it. Like it's a really good movie. It's saying some things thematically that I think resonate with people. It's not the most digestible like 4-quadrant Marvel film they've ever made, but it like it's a good movie, and if people want to see a good movie right now and they want to see something with, something with familiarity in the Marvel universe, like that is a movie to check out. That being said, I don't know if it's going to actually like make a difference, because people are so confused with the MCU, like where we're even at right now. Who are the Avengers? Who should we care about? And then again, the greater question of like superhero fatigue. Do people even care about these cinematic universes? And you also have the Superman film coming out, which is supposed to start a new cinematic universe, which look, I'm excited for. I'm a big freaking nerd. I want to be at these things day one because I'm a huge Superman fan, a huge nerd. But I know that I am the core audience. I'm the one they're targeting to. And the general audience, like, do they even care?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the big question. I think that there's a large audience that kind of dropped off the wagon for many different reasons. After Endgame, really. I mean, and to me, like, I feel like we're kind of back in the 70s, when the cowboy genre was the pinnacle, where industry was just making Western after Western from the 50s, 60s into the 70s. I think that's the question. I mean, we're more than 10 years in now, and I think there is some superhero fatigue happening, and what if viewers just want to watch, and just the climate too. I think that studios have gotten too political, have just stopped telling just regular stories, and stories that are just fun to watch, that everybody could watch, and staying out of like a political statement, or maybe alienating some of their audience. And because of that, we'll see. I mean, that's in some ways good news to hear, like, that there could be a revival, I think, but that's not just in the superhero genre. I don't think. I think that's Hollywood overall is having this issue, like multiple genres, maybe besides horror and some of those other more niche things that always do well. They're struggling to kind of find what's the stories that people want to go watch and what's fun. I think we've kind of lost an element of like entertainment. I think we take it for granted that, like, if it's bangy and flashy enough, that people just go see it, when that's not always what it is. I mean, I think a lot of times it's like the story has to be there, and not just a story that functions, but something that you're trying to say something interesting. So I would say that's it's multiple reasons as to why.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that there are multiple reasons as to why things are going on the way they are with Hollywood. I use superhero movies specifically because, like, that has been typically, like, that is the trend that has been dominating the culture. And I do think we're due for a new trend to either dominate the culture or just some sort of revival, which I don't know what form that takes. But like, I know like even like I have to contemplate like the death of the blockbuster, because Star Wars, like you talk about the 70s, like Star Wars is what like revived cinema and started the first blockbuster. I mean, technically Jaws and Star Wars. And that's when we got this explosion of the blockbusters, because people would be in lines like around the block waiting for movies. So
Right.
I guess multi-pronged question. one, do you think the video game genre is like the next big thing, and also do you think that people are just tired of blockbusters?
I think it could be. I mean, I love so many. There's some really cool stories in the video game world. I think. Well, I think it's like it's not even necessarily something that's not been done before. I think superhero genre could. Why I think that would be like if you look at The Chosen, how many times have we told the story of Jesus? We told it over and over and
Yeah.
over again. Obviously, we're talking about Christianity. We're talking about something that Christians are never going to get tired of visiting. But what was it that I think that's where things will go, and whether that's still in the same kind of traditional format or if that's on streaming, I think it's that there's kind of this lack of commitment and identity of what a story and what something could turn into. That's kind of become like the problem. I think, you know, we haven't had things that are largely focused on like entertaining and entertaining, not just bang and flashy. That's not enough. We're kind of used to now the technology being perfect. We know the cameras look amazing. We know the VFX can be there. We know like, but why do I care about this story? Where can I follow this? Where can I get a following? I think that's something that's worth at least considering. Like, what's the difference between like what The Chosen did and is able to be on streaming and in theaters? Obviously, people are willing to, if they care enough about a story, to watch it at home and at the theaters and make sure that they make plenty of money. So I don't think it's a lack of people's interest in being entertained. I think we're just not entertaining anybody anymore. I think it's just we're assuming people are going to follow this. I think we're a little pretentious in how we approach storytelling. I'm speaking broadly, like as if I have anything to do with the superhero genre, but like that in particular, I think is the issue. But what did they do better this time that they didn't do on the other ones? I mean, I think there's some clear examples if they're actually looking at it, and we know they're looking at it. We know that they're looking at what stories that they're telling, what didn't do well, and they know why it didn't do well. People don't want to call out why. I think we're in an epidemic of mediocrity in storytelling where people just are okay with things being repeated, rinse, wash, and repeat. But a sponge gets stinky after a while, and you can't do it for so long. So it's like it's time to like get a new sponge, like soak up some good storytelling, and let's mop this baby. You know, like I think that's where Marvel is at to a certain extent. And I think that's where everybody's at. And I think the Wild West is like, we don't really know what's going to emerge after all of this kind of blows up, or what's going to come forward as the front runner. Seems like Disney's starting to figure some things out. It looks like Netflix is starting to figure things out. Netflix just opened a huge faith and family division, so that's arguably something that is becoming a new thing. So like there's obviously movements of people seeing like what's selling and what's, but I think largely in part of like the success of The Chosen, things that Angel Studios has been doing. I think money talks, and that's kind of where I think things are going to start settling. I think people just want to be entertained, and I think we're just not entertaining anybody. I think we're so focused on an odd perspective that's not entertaining versus telling a good story that I want to go watch and watch over and over again.
Yeah, I think you're seeing a lot of movies this year that are kind of surprising people, like that movie Drop or The Drop. I don't remember if it was called The Drop or Drop, but it's like a little indie horror film about this girl who goes on a date and she gets like a text saying to kill her partner or something. I don't know, just really like intriguing premise. That movie, like, I think doubled its budget, and its budget was like a fraction of what a Marvel movie costs. And I've seen other like independent films like just surprise people, and even the Minecraft. I mean, like I remember people talking about that first trailer for the Minecraft movie. People are like, this thing's gonna bomb. This looks horrible. And look what it's doing. I mean, but it's also a built-in IP. It's Minecraft, which is like $1 billion industry in itself. But I think like you saying it's the Wild West, I think that hits the nail right on the head, because like who's to say if video game movies are really going to be the thing? Because like, a bunch of kids went to go to Minecraft and scream chicken jockey at the screen, but is that really going to be the next thing? Is that really the trend? Because video game movies are synonymous with like low quality still. So like, how is that going to get fixed? And I do agree with you. Like Disney, I get surrounded with so many people who I'll try to say Disney is learning their lessons, and they're like, well, I'm not gonna spend money on Disney movies for the rest of my life or whatever. It's like, wow, you live such a sad existence if you're like just politicizing everything. Like Disney, I know that Disney is learning their lessons. Like I research this stuff all the time. And Thunderbolts, I mean, just like Thunderbolts and Captain America 4. I don't know if you saw either one of those, but it is a clear-cut example, like night and day, that Disney is learning their lessons, because Captain America 4 was like the end of this like ultra woke, low quality, like bargain bin MCU that people have not been a fan of. Like that is the last movie of that era. And Thunderbolts is what is allegedly like the first of many films that Kevin Feige has like reined in the wagon and is like, all right, we got to get back to what we used to be, which is selling an experience with great characters and great action. And to the point where there have been articles that have come out saying that the real knock in quality from Marvel was, yes, like their ideological and spiritual aspects, like the embracing of wokeness, but also like Disney Plus like screwed them over. Like they were stretched so thin with all of those shows and movies and specials, because no one wanted to make content for Disney Plus unless it was actually made for Disney Plus. And most of their shows, if you've seen any of them, they're all feature film scripts stretched to be 8 episodes, and that is not a good way to make a streaming show. To the point where now they're focusing more on making movies, Marvel, and the TV shows. Like if they have something that'll work for TV, they'll put it on TV. Something like Daredevil Born Again, which was all right.
Right.
But
yeah,
like I do believe that Disney is learning the lessons. I mean, I think this year and next year will be really determinant of that, because you almost have a exact photocopy of what came out in 2019 versus now in will be in 2026, because you got another Avengers film. There was an Avengers film in 2019, Endgame. You had Toy Story. You have Toy Story 5. Then they had Toy Story 4 in 2019. They had I think Frozen 3 is coming out 2026, and they did Frozen 2 in 2019. So like Disney's recipe for fixing this is just like doing everything they did in 2019, and hopefully that works. But the only way it's going to work is if the movies are good. Otherwise, who cares?
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's something that I think people want to see options on the mainstream. I think people are just scared of it, and I think that that's the big question. Because there's a lot of people out there, like you said, that are like, I'm done with Disney, and I totally get that perspective, and not that that's not going to still be the case, still be to be determined if they actually do make a change. But I think people expect things to change in the way that they want it to. I think money always talks louder than anything else, and I think that at the end of the day, the culture will move towards what's doing well, and we need more filmmakers out there that are making good stuff. So, and making stuff that's that the audience wants to watch. But yeah, this is always the dilemma between conservative Christian and your average audience. I would say it's always the hard part.
Do you think movie making in general, or just the film industry in general, has become too politicized? Not even from a liberal perspective, but from a conservative perspective, of where conservatives expect a specific level of change, a specific type of change, and if they don't get what they want, they're not going to show up. Like, do you think it's too do you think it's too like conditional? Like, these these things have to be met before we come back. Otherwise, like most conservatives are gonna say goodbye to Hollywood or films in general.
I think it's a messaging issue to some degree. I think that there's going to be a mistrust there because we've not been able to trust what we go and watch. We can't trust like what our kids are going to sit down and see. You know, if you're trying to see something that doesn't have any messaging that you disagree with or anything in there, I think that's a big problem. I don't think there's a focus on people can't trust that there's a focus on the family. Um, because we don't even want to define what a family is anymore or define like what values are okay or not okay. No matter where you stand on any spectrum, we used to be able to go watch a film that was given a rating and your kid could watch it without that worry. So
Yeah.
I think it's taking a lot more intentional approach from the studio's perspective, I would imagine. I'm not in that world, so can't really speak too much to it of like what that would take and what that would win over. I do know that like if I'm selling a film, I have to be really particular on like how I position what this film is, what it's saying, and why you should watch it. And that should come out. I think that that's the way you can win over an audience, or at least to feel that they can be safe enough to watch this, in addition to it being entertaining. But it's different. It's weird. It's again Wild West kind of like how things blow up and what don't. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important for people to go. If you're a filmmaker, I think you got to go look at what were the most successful films. There was some sort of audience behind this that made it successful. Whether you're looking at, in my opinion, the atrocious films that were made for the Oscars this year, or if you're going to look at some of the big Christian blockbusters like Chosen or the content like that. There's always an audience behind it. How did that get to be successful? I think if you can kind of study that, how much does it take for a film to be successful, and what do they do in their messaging that made it that? I think that's what we have to look at, and I hope these studios like Disney and everything are looking at that data. I mean, they have to be. That's why Disney's making, I think, intentional changes without being loud about it or saying exactly why. Mm-hmm. But they're obviously making some changes, which I hope is in the direction of more open to families and 4-quadrant watching again. And I hope that Netflix is obviously considering it and looking at the data because they opened a whole new division.
That's
you don't
great.
do that kind of a change lightly. So there's that. And then you have people, independent studios that are popping up that are not going to go away anytime soon, like Angel Studios, which now has over 1 million guild members that are paying $20 a month. So they're obviously making plenty of money to keep growing. So
yeah,
I think there's a lot of options that are popping up, and I think it'll be, I mean, I think it's if you can find a film that can be defined and find its audience and really hone in on that, I think that's where things are going to move. As far as a genre changing project though, like what Star Wars was back in the 70s that changed from the cowboy genre to this, I don't know. I mean, I guess probably nobody envisioned there ever being that type of genre before Star Wars came out. I think it would have to be something maybe like that, but I don't know if we'd even have that anymore because there's so many options. It was a perfect setup in the 70s where you had what was coming out in theaters was what you'd go and do and look at. You'd go to the theater, show up and be like, oh, I heard about the Star Wars movie. That's when we go watch. Like you had few options to choose from. And so it allowed it to become what it was. Now it's like, even if that big of a story that's could potentially change like the dynamic of the industry and a genre, you're still going to have thousands of options from all the streaming services. And you're kind of like, something comes out on Prime or something comes out, on a different streaming service. Is it enough to convince you to get the free trial and binge that thing? Is like the basis, or to pay per monthly to sign up for them because you want to keep watching the show. There's just a lot more complexity to things getting successful, period. But then something altering the framework of the industry, that's a bigger task than it was in the 70s.
Yeah. And I think streaming has complicated things. I used to, I know the last time you were on, we were talking about streaming services, and I think I had a very innocent view of it, like, oh well, theaters are the way to go and streaming sucks. And I think now I've changed my tune a little bit now, where I see the value of streaming, and I think it is ultimately a good thing. Like, technology is going to advance, and anybody who doesn't at least try to work with advancements in technology, especially like AI today, like, you're only going to get lost in the weeds. And with streaming, though, I think the problem is there's just too many of them. I think we need to get back
Yeah.
to, there needs to be like Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime, and that's it. Like, I guarantee you, Disney and Warner Brothers and Universal, they would save so much money if they just dropped Peacock, dropped Max, dropped Disney Plus, and go back to getting deals with these studios to share the rights, the streaming rights for these, between these three services. And I know that technically it makes more sense for them to get the whole piece of the pie that they could get from streaming versus getting a portion of it by splitting it with another service. But really, how much money are they making? Because I don't know if Disney Plus has ever been profitable. I don't know if any of these services are truly making money for these companies. To me, it just seems like they're creating more of a headache for individual studios to not just fund movie making, but also fund their own service to then house those movies and a bunch of other content, which, I mean, maybe you know something I don't, but just to me, I mean, my limited perspective just doesn't seem like the most financially viable decision.
Well, I think when you're dealing with I mean, again, this is, that we're talking about something on the huge corporate level that a fairly limited understanding of how the inner workings go. But I would imagine, just like any large company, that losses are just as important as profits. What you can get for the money you can save with tax breaks and things to claim loss and all that. And Disney's been around for a long time, so they have that kind of inner working. But I think attention is the asset you're looking for more than money. I think you want more people going to you in the long run than to the other competitor. They're kind of settling into their niches. Like, Disney's always going to be Disney to a certain extent. They've made big purchases with, like, they're combining with like Disney, Hulu, ESPN. All those guys are already conglomerates of Disney, kind of combining it into one. They were kind of at what boy you had to have every different subscription. Now you can kind of combine them. Prime buying MGM and having kind of that kind of mold into them. Disney with 20th Century Fox. I think there's going to be more of that kind of thing, but you find people like Universal with Peacock. I mean, Peacock is not my go-to, but from selling to them personally, I think that their massive audience is, I think 80% or 70% of their audience is female. And like between the ages of 18 and 35. So that's I think they're going to settle into niches of what they sell to. I think that's kind of where I could see them maybe in the future going. So I think that I think that's always what they're kind of finding, where their positions lie and seeing what content they want to kind of commit to. But then, you have a good way that you can make money long term. I think it's just, there's so much, movies cost a lot of money and shows cost a lot of money to make. I think it's, how can you make it viable in the future? And keep having enough subscriptions to fund those things. But these guys are raking in a ton of money as well, but then there is a lot of loss with that. But that can be to your advantage or disadvantage. And we'll see where it goes. I mean, I'm interested to see who becomes a front runner. Every 5 years from now, it'll be interesting to see like which one positioned themselves in the correct way. I think, we'll see if it goes back to like a cable style thing, but I think it's already going to do that, just based on like, you already would go to CBS or ABC or somebody else for different things. And I think that's what is going to happen with this, the way that the industry is going now. And I think theaters will be around when you sell the larger scope things, or you make a decent amount of money by having a loyal audience that knows they can go to special events like The Chosen's done and made a lot of money in theaters as well as through streaming, and having a waterfall with how they can pay back investment and all that. I think it's all about like attention. If you can get enough attention on a concept a genre, something that you put out. I'm always fascinated more so by like people like A24 or something like that that has a particular niche. It's a broad storytelling, but it's within their kind of own niche thing, and like how they survive in this industry too. So
Yeah,
it's fascinating. I mean, it's just
they
a lot
they,
of
they
moving
basically
parts.
monopolized independent filmmaking to a certain degree, which I'm not even dogging them for. Like them and Neon, I think, are the two big
Yeah,
independent banners right now. And I say good on them because they, like most of those films, they don't make a lot of money, but some of them turn a decent profit or at least break even. Um,
yeah,
and I mean, they've expanded to music. They have their own music label now too. So, um, something's working for them. I also
yeah,
think like people are just like, I think you were right in saying that like people just want to be entertained and they're not being entertained. And just, I mean, of course, our economy does not help things right now because people can't even afford to. People can't afford a streaming service. I don't know anybody who's able to afford, Disney Plus, HBO Max, and Amazon Prime all in the same paycheck. Um, some people can only afford one of those. Some people can afford neither of those, which is also why I think the streaming system is a little broken, and just it's not really the most viable thing for the customer because at the end of the day, it's about the content that's on those services. Like, are you a Disney person? Are you a Warner Brothers person? Do you want to be able to watch Batman and all the Batman movies, or do you want to be able to watch Cinderella, or do you want to watch The Office? I guess that's kind of what it comes down to. Um, but yeah, I just think that streaming. I don't know how per se, but I just think streaming has to evolve to a certain degree with the audience, or at least work with the audience right now. Because I mean, I do believe that our financial situation as a country with the tariffs and all that, I do believe it's going to get better, but it's taken a while for it to get better, and I think audiences are they're strapped.
yeah. No, I think that's why you're starting to see all these advertisement additions pop up on these streaming services to pay extra $2 for no ads on Disney or
Right. Yeah.
same with like Netflix is incorporating that. Prime has already incorporated that with ads because I think it's too expensive for them to keep doing the genre they want to do, but then yeah, offsetting the costs. And I think most people are irresponsible, probably more so irresponsible than you are with your money. So I think a lot of those people don't really care so much about that. I think they're probably buying, but now the studios are going, there's still not enough money. So they gotta, I think there's a problem there, but yeah, we'll see how it lands.
Yeah, for sure. What just talking about, like, not being entertained, and Hollywood needs to get back to entertaining us and giving us stories we want to see. Um what's something you want to see? Like, what's gonna get you, JJ Schindler, to go back to the theaters? What are you wanting to see more of?
Um, I mean, for me personally, I think it is that very thing is just being more entertained. I think I stopped watching Marvel a while ago just because I was kind of getting superhero fatigue from it to a certain extent. But I think the last big movie I went and saw in theaters was Dune. I think big
Mm.
things are always going to be popular. For the average person, I think that's what's going to be the attracting element is in advertising. I'm surprised that when I've gone and when I've gone to make deals for distribution or talk to other producers, and we looked at the hard data research, I thought that this was bizarre, but still today, the majority, I don't know the percentage exactly, but the majority of people who go to theaters and don't know what movie they're going to go see when they go walk to theaters. They go walk up still and they go, oh, that sounds interesting. Let's go watch that.
Really?
I mean, to me, that's bizarre. Yeah, I was surprised that the majority of people still, that's how they go and watch movies.
I didn't know that was
I'm
still
a
a thing.
planner, so I'm always like, let me see, like that's the one I wanted to watch. Like, okay, like what time is it at? I want this seat. I want, like I plan it out.
Yeah,
Maybe it's because I'm a filmmaker and I know, I plan my experience, because it's
right.
expensive these. And it's what I want. But most people, they just walk up and they go, oh, that's interesting. Dune. I kind of heard there was something about that. Let's go watch that. So
Wow.
that's how most people go watch movies. So at least in theaters. I think movies always, always, always come down to how you market it. And obviously with that kind of stuff, I think filmmakers assume that everybody, if you're a filmmaker, that the audience goes and wants to experience the movie like you do, or that they're going to pay attention when they're not. And I think that that's just an element. I don't know if that's necessarily something that's never changed. I think that's always been the case, but I was shocked by that. I didn't think that that's how people watch movies, but apparently I'm wrong, because the data doesn't lie that that's the majority of people.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a shock to me. I feel like that is something from the 70s, where like, yeah, there were very, like you said, there were limited options for what you could go see in the theater, and you're like, oh look, that Star Wars film. I've heard good things about that. Let's go check that out. Yeah, kind of crazy that still goes on today, and I guess it's hard for like people like you and me to see that, as you said, because like we're filmmakers, we care deeply about movies, and we look at this stuff like people like the average Joe looks at like football. Like there is a science to football, and like how to play certain plays, and what's going to get you close to the end zone and scoring a touchdown and all that. Like we like, and because it's part of the industry, like I think you have to, but like we look at this stuff like football. Like we have to know the inside, like the way the industry works, what's not working, and like, okay, theorizing how do we fix this. And yeah, like you said, Wild West. And I'm both nervous and excited to see what becomes of where we're at right now.
Yeah, no, I'll see, but I think it's a very unsettled time. But then again, I think we've always kind of go through these things. The industry is always evolving, and I think it's part of it. So I think you're always going to have stories always king. People always want to watch good stories, and I think if you can advertise it correctly, put it in the right medium, put it in the front of the right audience, or figure out how to do that, then you're going to be successful. And brand is everything. I think that's why A24 has their audience, and different filmmakers get their audience, and that's everything that the film, the industry revolves around. People always want to be entertained to some degree, so I think it's just a matter of figuring out what things are people going to tolerate and not tolerate, and then honing in on that. But yeah, as far as the big studios go, I mean, it's wide open for them. I think it's the more they can listen to their audience, I feel like the more successful they're going to be. It's a give and take. Sometimes the audience doesn't maybe know what they want for something that's fresh ideas, but I feel like Disney and other studios like that need to come up with more original ideas based on the data they do have available to them, and they need to listen to more of what their audience is not liking. Maybe would be what I would think, but I'm sure they're already having these conversations. It's just shocking it's taking them such a long time to implement any changes.
For sure. I mean, like, I'm excited for Toy Story 5, I'm not going to lie. But there's a certain point where you have to stop making sequels for the sake of diminishing your once billion-dollar franchise. So, yeah, we'll see on that end. Is there anything that you're working on right now that you want to plug?
I mean, there's a lot of things I'm working on. I can't necessarily plug them yet. But there is a lot of stuff I'm working on. Nothing necessarily to plug. It's just been a wild ride, like pitching. This is the first 2 years that I've been able to actually pitch to studios and get the meetings I've always wanted to get. So I'm a newbie in this era, in this region of my of my profession. So I'm just learning a lot, and yeah, it's a wild time, but I'd be interested to hear what your other people you've had on the podcast and viewers, their experiences are, because I feel like it's always interesting to get a different perspective and see like if this is a cohesive thing that other people are experiencing besides just me. But it's an interesting time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, again, everything I've read, everything I research is like, yeah, I guess I've never really thought about it, but I just go back to how you said it. It's the Wild West. Um, Everyone has an idea of what's going to work, of what could work, of what could save the industry, but like no one knows for sure. I mean, everyone's looking to, at least Warner Brothers is really looking to Superman to like revitalize that studio and possibly even revitalize the superhero genre. Although I'd say superhero fans like myself were eating pretty good with Thunderbolts. But Superman is also it's a like a bread and butter superhero, so a lot is riding on that. But yeah, I guess we'll see. But I hope to hear some more positive developments on your end with the things that you're trying to get made and get pitched, and hopefully one day we'll be producing and directing our own film together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, everything always is, you adapt, you find ways to work through it. And there's a lot of, as much as there's this craziness, there's also a lot of positives. I mean, I'm really excited to see like how the industry is moving into kind of an open mind to values that I really believe in. As far as family and more 4-quadrant movies, I think could be a big thing that kind of blows up again. I would love to see that. So I think there's a lot of opportunities with the viewpoints that myself and yourself, like the stories that we want to tell. I think they're going to be looking for more content that's like that. I think you just have to think outside the box. You have to be super creative, and you have to find ways to tell stories that can attract a larger audience. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's about attention. And if you can get enough attention and showcase why you can sell something in a niche, that's really what's going to sell. But I'm excited to see where things go. There's a lot of positives happening as much as there is a lot of negatives.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. You got to stay positive, and where there is uncertainty, there is a possibility for innovation. So we'll see what happens. But we've gone for almost 2 hours, a little over 2 hours, perhaps. A lot of starts and stops, but we made it all the way through. So, JJ, thank you for coming back on the show after all these years. I promise I won't wait another 5 years to get you back on. But I appreciate you coming back on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thanks for having me, man. I would love to come back, and all the success to you. I'd love to see this continue to grow, and, hats off to you for being consistent and sticking with a podcast like this, and working your way to growing it more and more. Takes a lot of work people don't see. So I'm stoked to see what other guests you bring on and how much you can grow in this, in addition to your other projects that I know you're working on. So
yeah, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Where can the good people find you online?
Just give me a quick Google. I'm the only JJ Schindler in the United States, so I'm not too hard to find, but you probably don't want to find me. But if you do want to find me, just put me in Google, and Facebook, Instagram. I'm around there, and hopefully here in the next 6 months to a year, I'll have some pretty big updates and stuff for people to follow. And but yeah, no, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, anytime. I guess, yeah, you don't post very often, so people aren't going to find much.
I'm not very active, but that may change when I have more valuable things to show.
Sure. Yeah, no, hey, you're honestly doing yourself a bigger favor, probably, because it's a hard habit to break, being on social media.
Yeah.
So you're probably doing a better job than most.
Well, if I can keep myself off of it, but yes, but I definitely hope to be more active, but yeah, people can find me. I don't have a whole lot on there, but yeah, if people want to see when I do and be some of the first people to see when I do post something again, then yeah, that you can find me there.
Cool. Well, I will make sure that JJ's socials are linked in the description of this episode because I may be one of the only people in the world that knows where to find them. Thank you all for watching. JJ, thanks again for being on the show. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. Have a fantastic day. We'll see you next time for episode 100 of the Vince Salerno podcast. God bless and peace out.